Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share something a bit more personal, a story about a shift in perspective that honestly changed everything for me. It's a story about dealing with difficult people, but more than that, it's about what those challenging moments can teach us about ourselves. For years, I worked in customer service. If you've ever done it, you know it can be a real roller coaster. You have amazing days where you connect with people and genuinely help them, and then you have, well, the other days. The days with the tough customers. I used to dread those encounters. My stomach would tighten, my heart would race, and I'd spend hours replaying the conversations in my head, feeling drained and defeated. I let every harsh word, every impatient sigh, and every unreasonable demand chip away at my confidence. I felt like a human punching bag, and I started to believe that my worth was somehow tied to my ability to please absolutely everyone, which, as we all know, is impossible. One particularly rough Tuesday, I had a call that just broke me. It was one of those situations where nothing I did was right. The customer was angry, I was getting flustered, and by the end of it, I just sat there staring at my screen, feeling completely hollow. I went home that night seriously considering quitting. I thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm not strong enough for this. I felt like a failure, not just at my job, but as a person who couldn't handle pressure. That night was a low point. I remember thinking that the problem was out there, with the angry customers, the demanding public, the unfairness of it all. I saw myself as a victim of my circumstances. The next morning, I woke up with that same heavy feeling. But as I was getting ready for work, something clicked. It wasn't a lightning bolt moment, more like a quiet dawn. I looked in the mirror and asked myself a different question. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" I asked, "What am I learning from this?" It was a small shift, but it was profound. I started to reframe the entire experience. What if these difficult interactions weren't just attacks on my well-being? What if they were actually training sessions? What if every tough customer was unintentionally a coach helping me build a muscle I didn't even know I had? That muscle was resilience. It was patience. It was the ability to remain calm in a storm. I realized I had been focusing entirely on the external chaos, the customer's anger, instead of focusing on my internal response. The customer's emotions were theirs to own. They were a reflection of their day, their problems, their life. My emotions, however, were mine. I was the one in control of how I reacted, how I processed it, and how I let it affect me. That day, I went into work with a new mindset. I decided to treat every interaction, especially the challenging ones, as an opportunity to practice. To practice empathy, to practice de-escalation, and most importantly, to practice detaching my self-worth from someone else's opinion of me in that moment. It wasn't easy at first. Old habits die hard. The first time a customer raised their voice, my immediate instinct was to tense up and get defensive. But then I remembered my new goal. I took a deep breath. I listened not just to their words, but to the frustration behind them. I replied calmly, "I understand you're upset, and I'm here to help." I focused on the problem, not the person's tone. And a funny thing happened. The conversation didn't magically become pleasant, but it became manageable. And when it was over, instead of feeling drained, I felt a small sense of accomplishment. I had stayed centered. I had controlled my own ship in their storm. I started to see it as a game, a challenge to myself. How calm could I stay? How much empathy could I show, even when it wasn't being reciprocated? I learned to create a mental boundary. Their anger could come towards me, but it didn't have to come inside me. It could bounce off this invisible shield of self-respect and professionalism I was building. I stopped taking it personally because I finally understood it was rarely ever personal. More often than not, I was just a representative of a situation they were unhappy with. Over the next few months, this practice transformed my work life, and then it started spilling into my personal life. When a friend was short with me, instead of immediately getting hurt, I wondered if they were having a bad day. When I faced a setback on a personal project, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, I looked for the lesson. This shift from "why me" to "what can I learn" became my new default setting. I realized that my power wasn't in controlling other people or avoiding difficult situations. My true power was in controlling my own response. It was in my ability to stand firm in my own sense of self, regardless of the external weather. The biggest revelation was this: the difficult customers hadn't changed. The world hadn't suddenly become a kinder, gentler place. The only thing that had changed was me. I had stopped waiting for the world to be easier and had instead decided to become stronger. And that's when I discovered my own resilience. It wasn't something I was born with. It was something I had forged day by day, one difficult conversation at a time. The very experiences I thought were breaking me were actually building me. They were the fire that was tempering the steel of my character. I learned that resilience isn't about not getting knocked down. It's about how you get back up, what you learn from the fall, and how you stand a little taller the next time. So if you're out there dealing with something tough, a difficult boss, a challenging relationship, or your own inner critic, I want you to try this shift. Instead of seeing yourself as a target for the hardship, try seeing yourself as a student in the classroom of life. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What muscle is this helping me build? It could be patience, courage, forgiveness, or, like me, resilience. The challenges we face are not just obstacles, they are opportunities. They are invitations to discover the strength that already lies within you, waiting to be uncovered. That shift from victim to student, from being acted upon to being an active learner, that is the shift that can change everything. You are so much more resilient than you think. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. I hope it resonated with some of you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you do not miss our future conversations. I'd love to hear about a shift in perspective that changed things for you, so please share your story in the comments below. Until next time, take care and keep growing.